It looks like the majority of the people have found their way to the breakout room, and I want to welcome everybody. I'm Susan Johnstad. I'll be hosting today's session, which means I'll be in the background. You can message me if you have any issues, but I'm happy to turn this over to our speakers today, Melissa Mariner and Justin Savoy. Justin, Melissa, would you like to take over?
Sure. Yes. Good morning, everyone. My name is Justin Savoy. I'm the program coordinator for Chesterfield Recovery Academy.
And I'm Melissa Mariner. I'm the clinical coordinator here at Recovery Academy. So we're excited to have you join us today. We're having some technical difficulties. Oh, got it. Okay. So today we're going to inform you all about, and community members about, the first Recovery High School in Virginia. The first Recovery High School in the United States opened in 1979 in Maryland, and you can see here the timeline between 1979 and now the present day. According to the Association for Recovery High Schools, there are currently 42 recognized recovery high schools in 20 states. Almost half of the high schools are located in only 3 states, Texas, Minnesota, and Massachusetts. We are the first one here in Virginia. Compared with their peers at regular schools who have gone through treatment, recovery high school students have better attendance and are more likely to stay sober. Their graduation rate is at least 21% higher, according to one study.
Our journey started back in June of 2022, where legislation was signed by the General Assembly with Governor Youngkin, and we had our official ribbon cutting on August the 2nd of 2022, and our first day of school last year was September the 8th of 2022. So we're excited that we completed our first full year, and we are actually in our second academic school year. And for a quick glance, we have a video to show.
We do. Hold on, it's...
And it stops here and it's it.
Like a regular high school, but inside these doors, students are getting not just a new path forward in life, but also a second chance. Are we all doing one-on-ones? Yeah. The large couch may be the first sign that this isn't your typical classroom. The licensed therapy dog might be another.
This school is like a comprehensive school mixed with therapy.
This is Chesterfield Recovery Academy, a public school nestled next to a traditional high school in Chesterfield, Virginia. The difference is, all of the students enrolled here are recovering from addiction. Program coordinator, Justin Savoy.
The benefit is that they actually are around people who are going through the same situation as them. There's more of a network of a family. It's a more welcoming atmosphere where they don't feel judged for their previous behavior. Here's our past behaviors. This is the first one in Virginia. We are the pilot.
Chesterfield School Superintendent Mervyn Dougherty spearheaded the school's opening this year.
This is an opportunity for students to realize I made a mistake. There are people here to help me get through the mistake. Drug and alcohol use is not isolated. It's not just in one community.
And neither are schools like these. A handful of recovery schools first opened in the 1970s, but can now be found coast to coast, from Florida to Texas to California, with the most recent ones opening for the first time this year in Ohio and Virginia. At Chesterfield, there are 11 students with the ability to take on 40. Yeah. Lake Nicole.
I was using substances.
And Zakiah Kearney.
I got an addiction to a substance.
Are 2 of the school's first students.
I was scared at first, but it's really been worked out. I'm really glad. I would much rather be here than regular school. Much rather be here. I'm going to prep you.
The students work on their traditional curriculum at their own pace.
I just think you have to do some more time for the prep work on it.
With both online and in-person instructors ready to help.
Vocabulary type things, okay?
As well as therapists.
So I was like, am I going to be like doing math and the therapist is going to be like, are you anxious during this? Like, I was like, that's going to be weird. But it's definitely nice because when you're having a bad day, you don't really have to hold it in. You can kind of just talk about it with somebody that's going to be unbiased. And you can leave today.
Changes your perspective on everything. When drug addiction comes in your front door of your house.
Jeff Patton's 9th grade son enrolled in the Recovery Academy after he completed a treatment program.
It is the most welcoming thing you can do for your child if you have a program like this in your community, because it gives you hope that they're not going to get lost in the system. It feels like a lifeline.
You can't get her.
One that these students say they plan to hold on to.
It's the people. Literally, that's why I like coming. We're all like really close. We have like a little chosen family.
One sharing a journey to recovery together. In Chesterfield, Virginia, I'm Maya Rodriguez.
Okay, we serve Virginia's Department of Education Region 1. So we have 15 partners within the region, Charles City, Chesterfield, Colonial Heights, Dinwiddie, Goochland, Hanover, Henrico, Hopewell, New Kent, Petersburg, Powhatan, Prince George County, City of Richmond, Surrey, and Sussex County. Our vision is that Chesterfield Recovery Academy aims to be a vehicle of progressive change for the ushering in of an academic culture that holistically addresses the substance use and challenges of the youth in Virginia Department of Education, Region 1. Our mission statement is that we provide a supportive environment that makes academic success during recovery attainable as well as sustainable, emphasize post-secondary preparedness, and foster the development of a growth mindset towards pursuing healthy choices, positive relationships, and sustained sobriety. Currently, we have almost a full staff, so we're excited about that. Both our academic and clinical teams have expanded. I have myself, the clinical coordinator, the program coordinator, We have our senior clinician, Ms. Melissa Mariner. We have 2 clinicians underneath her, and our peer navigator, Ms. Nadia. On the academic side, we have 2 academic facilitators, an instructional assistant, and our office manager. And as always, we have Letty here every day.
You probably heard her drinking water in the background. And we're also in the process of hiring on the clinical team a certified peer specialist as well.
To be eligible, you have to be a high school student in Region 1, one of the 15 school districts. An internal motivation for recovery. A student cannot be court-ordered to CRA. So we made that very clear within our region. They have to have the motivation to be in the program and receive some form of prior substance abuse and mental health clinical treatment. Our intake process is pretty simple. We have an interest form on our website. It can be completed by a student, a parent, or someone familiar with the family, as long as they let the family know they're applying. We review the information by the committee, and then that family is contacted for an intake interview. And during that interview, the clinical assessment is done by one of our clinicians. And if that child is selected, we request their student files. And then within about 3 to 5 days, they can be registered and started with our system. And that no IEP or FAP funding is required. For our enrollment, currently we have, now it's 15 starting on next Monday. 13 will be from Chesterfield, 2 from Henrico. We do have some on standby as well.
Yeah, after break, I think we'll be over 20.
Correct. We do have some returning students as well as brand new students here. All grade levels are represented. And then last year we had Chesterfield, Colonial Heights, and Henrico that participated. For academics, we make sure that every course is available for them for graduation requirements. It's offered through CCPS Online and through their PACE program. A benefit is that their seat time is lifted, and so they're not required to be in a course the entire semester, so a student can recover on the credits as well while they're here. We do conduct our own SOL testing as well, and certification testing needed for graduation. SAT and PSAT is available, and our students can participate in the Career and Technical Education program here and at the courthouse location. We do currently have 2 students, one in electrical program and one nursing program. Students can participate in their homeschool activities and sports as long as they're allowed on campus. We do not keep any of the ADM or criteria for school accreditation. Basically, the student just comes to us for education and the clinical. Everything else goes back to the home districts. When they graduate, it will be from their home school. That will be on their diploma, and the transcript will only say CCPS Online. and that their tenure here in the program is individualized. So it's based on that student meeting their goals for themselves, so they can be here for a semester, or they can be here until the time for them to graduate.
And now we'll share a little bit about our clinical program here at CRA. So the clinical program is a community partnership between Chesterfield Mental Health and Support Services, received funding via a grant from the Virginia Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Services to support the clinical and peer recovery staff. And now this year we have Nadia, who I believe is here in the training, who's joined us through a partnership with Recovery Corps. Our team is myself, Anna Jones, and Kara Wilson, as well as Nadia and the part-time or the peer support specialist that we will be hiring. Letty joins our team. We're certified as a therapy animal team through Pet Partners, and she has 6 years of experience working in the school setting. As a general overview, we provide substance use treatment to address and support recovery, group and individual supportive counseling, as well as case management and coordination with outside providers. What that looks like, it's termed as supportive counseling. So that may be anywhere between 2 or 3 shorter 30-minute sessions a week with their primary clinician. And then students are also able to access clinical supports as needed. If they're coming in the morning after a fight with someone at home, we have someone available to help them throughout the day if they needed. Daily groups with diversity of approach. So recovery, psychoeducation, mental health, activity-based discussion, processing, art therapy, music therapy, trying to share as much as possible with them through that process, as well as linking students to local recovery and mental health community resources. The majority of our students here represented at-risk populations. So they have, most, I would say, have significant trauma histories, co-occurring disorders that include depression, anxiety, PTSD, ADHD. About a third of our students are involved in the foster care system, and over half have parents with significant current or previous substance use disorders. Most of our students have had previous psychiatric hospitalization and or residential stays. We do have many court-involved youth, and many arrive here with apprehension, distrust, negativity about either the recovery process or therapeutic treatment. So our approach is actively supporting multiple pathways to recovery, trying to meet the students where they are, as well as exposing them and introducing them to different things, helping them to understand some of the root causes of their substance use versus only treating the symptoms, as well as addressing the co-occurring mental health disorders. Ideally, our students are also working with a therapist on the outside, as really getting into some of those trauma histories isn't ideal for the school setting, but we're lucky to have staff that is able to address that if it comes up over the course of the day. The trauma-informed approach utilizes techniques including the stage of change model, motivational interviewing, smart recovery, cognitive behavioral therapy, and integrating art therapy, music therapy, peer support, mindfulness, etc. Compared to traditional school counselors, our clinical team here is able to provide more focused and dedicated counseling and case management services. We don't come from a school counseling. We come from more of a clinical program. I'm a licensed counselor, and both of our clinicians are on track to be licensed eligible. It's a true multidisciplinary approach, integrating peer support with evidence-based clinical practices. We offer year-round support for our students. So even when we're on breaks, we're still reaching out to them, doing virtual sessions. Our peer navigator is trying to figure out ways to meet up with them for coffee or to go to a meeting. And this is a unique model among the recovery high school community as well, to offer this level of specialized clinical treatment. Most of the models have a full peer staff, and then if they have clinical supports, oftentimes they're part-time or outsourced. And we've seen a lot of benefit to having this, including the need to do, threat assessments if our students are having suicidal ideation. And so we feel very grateful to have the team that we have here. So in our first year, we came in and really implemented a framework for the clinical supports and assessments to meet the program needs here. We benchmarked it with the Association for Recovery High Schools to align with best practices and future accreditation. We developed substance use and mental health assessments for admission and intake. We partnered with other recovery schools in the country, as well as local peer resources, Virginia Recovery Corps, Project Yoga, to help inform the program and for additional support for our students, as well as building a network of community support, including recovery and mental health resources. So over the course of last year, we saw our students develop a connection and engagement with our clinical staff and with the recovery process, as well as each other. They participated in over 170 hours of the individual supportive counseling and over 80 hours of group therapy. They built positive therapeutic relationships and actively participated throughout the year, including over the summer and over the winter breaks. There was a significant decrease in psychiatric hospitalization and residential stays among our students, and none of our students received any additional criminal charges. So in terms of the 2023-24 goals and looking forward, we're looking forward to and have been further integrating our peer support services, strengthening our community-based engagement. We're so excited that we have partnered with Ramsden Recovery, and they are going to be coming out starting in January they have come out so far, but weekly starting in January to run peer groups, providing a variety of approaches for our students and really giving them some people close to peer age to them that are in recovery. We're really excited about that. Outreach and education to Region 1 mental health community, and then advocacy for statewide focus on adolescent substance use treatment services and resources.
For collaboration, we work with other recovery high schools. Myself and Miss Melissa, we have been sitting on some of the admin meetings discussing like daily practices, common occurrences, and like how we can build a better network. With our school counselors, both within the district and outside the district, treatment providers, and with the court system as well, because some of our students are court involved. We definitely, one of our biggest partnerships is with the Chester Education Foundation.
We love them. They've been amazing.
They have been very gracious in providing the gas card reimbursements, but also our therapeutic expenses. They're definitely helping us outfit the therapeutic area in the back with new furniture for our students for group and also for our therapy offices as well. We have to end the Stigma Foundation, where they donate towards student mindfulness. They also showcase their own emotional wheel. And the JHW Foundation, which actually helped to set up BC Ransom Recovery, they also provide it as well.
And To End the Stigma has come out, last year they came out at least once a quarter, and they brought different people in recovery or related to recovery and really spent a lot of time getting to know our students and sharing their experiences with them. So we really value everything they've brought to us as well. I touched on Ramsden Recovery. We've also started working with the Chesterfield Mental Health Pro team. And so they have peer recovery specialists on their team that have come out to share their stories and experiences with our students, as well as community supports for our transition age youth in particular. And also hoping to integrate a family support aspect in partnership with them as well.
And then Healing Sounds, where they provided a weekly music therapy group for our students, helps provide some variety with therapy resources for our students. For our accomplishments for the 22-23 school year, overall students had 48 months of sobriety, which is huge for them. A lot of times our students are coming to us first starting their sobriety. So this is a great accomplishment for them. Over 60 credit hours earned. We had 4 high school graduates, 2 term and 2 summer graduates, with 1 graduating a full year early. And the student employment, we had 5 kids who actually started or went back into the workforce. And these are pictures from our first completion ceremony. You see our graduates on the left, and then on the right again with our academic facilitator, Ms. Stone.
Yeah, we wanted to celebrate, and obviously in particular our graduates, but for everyone that participated in the program that year.
For our program achievements, as a coordinator, I was helping on the governor's Right Help Right Now plan, advocating for additional recovery schools. Our program was awarded the Youth and Children's Program for National Association of Counties. We also received the Best Large County Achievement Award for the Virginia Association of Counties. And then in September, we actually participated in the first ever Recovery Month Summit at the White House. And we were the only school in the entire country that allowed to bring students to participate on the youth panel, which is a huge accomplishment for us, especially for within our first school year.
And you can reach out. They did an amazing job, much better than I think I would have done,
Right.
speaking on national news and sharing their stories. So we were really proud of them and grateful for that opportunity.
And actually from the video that we first showed you, the second student, Zakai, was one of our students that we took out. For our future goal, we're looking at the maintaining up to towards the 25 students this semester. We do believe we will hit that goal. Addition for the 25% of the region representative, we feel like we will hit that goal as well. Just working on accreditation process with the Association of Recovery High Schools, and then make sure we're growing our partnership within the region. Oh, for accreditation, we're offered through the Associated Recovery Schools, ensure students and parents that the educational recovery supports offered by the school are of high quality and have been evaluated by experts in the field. There are currently 8 schools that are accredited. ARS has a goal to remove barriers and increase the number of accredited recovery schools. CRA is registered with ARS with a goal accreditation in 2024.
So the next in terms of, along with that expansion, is why are recovery schools necessary? So right now we're the only school in Virginia. The nearest neighboring schools are in Maryland and North Carolina. And obviously Virginia is a big state. We serve 15 counties. We've had the opportunity to meet with people from other regions in Virginia, whether it's virtually or whether they've come here to share some of our experiences and resources. We're really passionate about doing that. It's addressing a state issue. So adolescent drug use is at an all-time high, fueled by ease of access. And from the experience of doing interviews and intakes, I would say the majority of our students had their primary access and use in the school setting. And then to increase the amount of adolescent substance use resources. So within Virginia, there are limited resources in terms of treatment facilities, detox, alternative peer groups. Frankly, it's even a difficulty for us to find in-person meetings for our students to attend that are appropriate or accessible. So that's something that's really important for us as a state. In terms of what others can do if they're interested in opening a recovery high school, is to be in touch with the Association of Recovery High Schools, make sure what they're doing is aligning with the governing principles and policies. Partnering with at least 2 regional counties is really beneficial in creating long-term commitments for regional relationships and to support the regional issues, and then support from local government and law enforcement in terms of understanding that our programs are here to help support and decrease future youth court involvement and to serve as a resource to assist with community reintegration.
So for funding, which everyone asked about, it's a large financial commitment, obviously, for individual counties. There are external funding sources available. However, when we started the program, it is mainly geared towards partnering districts. So that's what the state is looking towards. So supporting regional programs helps to address and modify actions directed for each individual community and the regional needs, and it facilitates staff growth and retention. So what you can do, you support by the state education department, just have the approval for academic systems to support recovery. You partner with your local university and recovery programs, provide a linear path for post-secondary options for students continuing their education, and then build and promote your message. So you cater your message towards each region to increase buy-in from potential partners and participants. So tips for success, leadership, academic and therapeutic leads need to be together. I started in July, Melissa came on October. So I was kind of like trying to juggle all the balls together. So if you can have your people start at the same time, please do. Because even though we mesh well together, each department has their own needs and they have to have their own policy put in place. So it's good to have those two leads together at the same time so they can work it out together. Also, if you're blending two models, it just helps to have it together in the same room. Your community, want to reach out for supportive members or organizations to assist within your first year. We found that out our first year, there are a lot of people who were interested in recovery, but they didn't know how they can help the community. And so when we came along, that's when more people in organizations started to come out to want to volunteer. And then to think outside the box. You encounter areas for growth that were not part of the initial planning process. So we've seen that too when you're coming along, when you have a changing population or changing staff, or just a new need may pop up in the community, you have to think outside the box on how to address it.
And I'd say being flexible. You may think you've got a policy down and then something comes up that you had no idea that you needed to consider. And so being flexible in that way. This isn't on there and I'm just like throwing this out at you, but they called it building the plane while we were flying it, right? So we had students here before the whole team was in place. But when we were at the ARS conference, there was someone who was opening one in Texas, I think. And so they had their coordinator on for a while to be able to kind of research, visit other schools. I think getting that team in place to learn about recovery high schools, to build relationships and speak with other ones, even touring them, having the opportunity to do that, if you have that ability, would be a great way to get things started.
What we learned, be a part of the solution. Recovery schools are only part of the overall community effort to address the youth with drug use. So we have sometimes to tell parents that in the beginning, we are not the end all be all. We're only part of the resource from the community to address the drug use in the area. You want to clarify your message, a clear understanding of the program for the community, and then policy changes. So consistently updating policy to reflect the student population enrolled. Even though on the school side, we have a standard policy, but we also take in kids from different districts. And so their policy is a little bit different than ours as well. So sometimes we have to modify whoever comes through our doors. And then closely you have to take into conclusion that our students have a different population. And so they require different needs. So our policies have to reflect those needs as well.
And then I think we learned to expect the unexpected.
Yes.
And then it's serious stuff. For a lot of our students, it's life or death. And that is something we take seriously. We don't mean to make light, but as many times as you can find some humor or connection in that really is what helps with the type of work that we do. That is our presentation. So I guess we are open if anyone has questions or comments, suggestions.
Thank you both. And everybody, you are welcome to put questions into the chat function, to raise your hand as I see that Kate has done, or to unmute yourself and just participate in conversation.
Sure. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just wondering if you guys saw students who are a little bit older. So wondering if I know sometimes our students who might have to go to rehab, they kind of lose a year. So I was just wondering if you guys allow for a student maybe to be 19, or do they have to have an IEP in order for that? Just kind of wondering that.
Well, we do allow, as long as they're at high school of age. So there are students who can be up until the age of 20 that are in high school. So if they have IEP, always that's extended, but up until 20, yes.
And then also, I mean, it's in a lot of ways great for those students that they don't know. None of our students have to have IEPs, although we can accommodate it. And coming myself from a private day background, to be able to accept students with no IEPs, no FAPT funding, the family can literally click a link on our website. We will call them and set up an interview. the barriers. They've just done everything they can in setting up the school to take it away, providing all the transportation through Chesterfield County, so the homeschools don't have to provide it, but the schools still get their ADMs and so forth. So it's with the opportunity for credit recovery and the seat time requirement waived for some of those older students, it's ideal. I saw the question about clinical internship opportunities. So last year was really a building year for us. We're definitely open to interns, kind of on a case-by-case basis now that we're a little bit more settled in terms of our routine. So we're certainly open to that process. And thank you, Trish.
Brian, yes, we do screen our students. That's part of the program. So do you understand that we have scheduled and unscheduled drug screenings, and that is a mandatory part of our program. So you cannot opt out of that.
We don't bill for the therapy sessions that happen in the school. We don't, technically, the students are students of Recovery Academy. They're not clients of Chesterfield Mental Health, especially as we're taking students from different region or from all over the region. And so when they're enrolled with us, they don't have to, go through that intake process at Chesterfield Mental Health. They come here and do our interviews. So no, we don't do any billing or deal with any insurance on the clinical side.
So, quick question for you. Towards the beginning of your presentation, you identified the areas that the localities that you guys serve, right? Is there a discussion at any point about opening that up? Where we are, it's pretty rural. It wouldn't be realistic for them to be able to drive, all the way to you guys. Just curious about, collaboration, partnerships with the area in terms of if there's any group homes or anything like that you guys have partnered with to help. Like if we were to place a child out there and they, got out of treatment and they wanted to stay out there in let's say a group home setting, and then they came there for school, would that be an option?
So I'm sorry, what county are you from?
So we're Accomack, Northampton. We're on the Eastern Shore.
Okay.
Well, technically, yes, a student can still be a part of the program, even if they're in a group home setting. We've had that before already. We worked out transportation the group home provided. If it's needed that we provide transportation, we treat it just like any other student.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to rural settings, sometimes it just depends on your region. That's why they're trying to look for more regional partnerships to address that issue, because our region is pretty big, but we also supply a governor's school and then a regional computer science school over the same region. So do we have kids who are on the bus for the other schools for about an hour and a half? So it is traditional for our kids already.
So how would that work though? Because we had, how would it work if it were a student from a county that's not in our regional catchment, but then is placed in a group home in the region?
If they're placed in a group home within the region, this region is now considered their home district.
Correct.
So as long as within that, they can stay. If let's say they are released during the school year, but they still can, they might apply for a waiver. So they apply for a waiver and it's approved because they're in our program. We just work with transportation about the additional mileage to pick them up.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is that Chesterfield from us would probably be every bit of 2.5 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So it's quite far. We're further than Virginia Beach. You have to cross the bridge and get all the way over on the peninsula. And, so the reason why I ask is that we actually have an individual who is they're on our agenda for discussion tomorrow. I hope he's still doing well, but came in 15 on Suboxone as a part of our MAT program. The area we don't have a lot of resources for adolescents. That's one of the reasons why I'm here. We don't have a lot of resources for adolescents in terms of outside of the CSB. The recovery network and the recovery community is very limited as far as for the adolescents. The option was discussed, would he attend Smart Recovery with adults? That doesn't seem appropriate necessarily. So that's why I was kind of asking, because we do have those that do come up. So trying to see what our options would be as far as if we place somebody out there, they would be in that area. So they, I guess, could technically go to school there. Just trying to work out all the details. So thank
Potentially
you.
a long-term group home placement, let's say in
Mhm.
Chesterfield, and then
Yeah.
for a year, he lives in the group home and
Right.
attends.
Yes,
Okay.
so like the group home, their address will fall within one of our regions within the county, and they'll be associated with whatever high school is nearest to them. So that would now be considered their home high school, and then they can attend us.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm passing it on to my case management team. So thank
And
you.
you're welcome to give them our contact information too.
That sounds good. Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
So we are definitely incorporating more activities. We have a beautiful, huge campus here that we try to utilize as much as we can. I've actually been speaking to someone about engaging in some equine therapy. We are actually good. We're having bikes delivered this week for our students and helmets
Yeah.
for them to be able to get outside and do some of that activity, and then also partnering with the YMCA. So depending on how large our population gets, they'll either go weekly or bi-weekly to get some activity there as well.
I'll take the one for Katie. So we have been looking at expansion for middle school. We have received several phone calls since last year for 8th graders. At the moment, we don't take traditional 8th graders. Now, if they've already repeated 8th grade once, they're considered overage under credit, we can take them. But at the moment, we cannot take traditional 8th grade. We are looking at expansion for later on because we noticed that a lot of our students got started in middle school.
And we got a lot of calls last year about 8th graders. And so it's definitely something that they're working on. And Tori, we would love to have you come tour to anyone. You're welcome to. It's a big goal of ours to, I know that maybe the name Chesterfield Recovery Academy doesn't reflect the full region that we serve. And so we would love to have as many students from other regions to come. And our doors are always open in terms of if you as providers or community members want to come tour. If you have a family that isn't sure they want to do a full interview process, but they want to just come check the school out and get a feel for it, we're open to any of those things. We're really flexible with that. There's no cost to attend at all. Not to the counties, not to the schools.
Right, through legislation, Chesterfield received the funding to run the program. So there's no cost to anyone, not even the home districts.
Even if they're FAPT involved or, have CSA funding for other services, they wouldn't need that for Recovery Academy. Good. I think also it's sometimes a little bit hard to get out just because it is a little bit unheard of to have a school that you don't have to have an IEP or to get FAPT funding or to figure out transportation or have any payment for and a large referral process.
It's a unique opportunity. They're trying to replicate it in the state. So we have been reached out to by some other school districts across the state who are looking at doing it. So if you're interested, I would definitely speak with your superintendent if you can, or a school board member about it and then starting the process, because how the governor's looking at for funding, they want regional partnerships.
So I will say on our website, it says like required 20 to 30 days of sobriety. We don't follow that. I mean, it's not, even if you were, let's say, a heavy marijuana user, even if you did, it's impossible to even determine that because you could still be testing positive. And a lot of our students, when their primary use is in school, while they're in that setting, it's so difficult to attain that sobriety. And so I'm also happy to send anyone. I have a little information flyer you can share with clients. I also have a form that I wrote up in terms of the referral process, but that is on the website. We're working on getting that changed. I wouldn't worry. I wouldn't let that exclude anyone from the process. the most important thing is that there's some internal motivation for recovery. It's why students can't be court ordered in, or, the parents like either go to Recovery Academy or you're going to live with your aunt in Indiana. And so sometimes those are the things where we have some difficulty determining if the student is a fit. Do they actually want to be here? Because if they really don't, it just hasn't worked out. We've gotten some feedback that there's some concern about the criteria of previous either recovery or mental health treatment. And I would just say, I think that we can look at that under a broad umbrella. Everyone has probably met with a school counselor. If that's what that looks like for them, we're not digging deep into that. We're not eliminating someone because they haven't been to treatment, or they haven't had outpatient therapy for, a year. That is, that's another one to kind of talk about how that's phrased on the site. But I wouldn't let that be exclusionary. It's really, but in terms of the court-involved youth.
Now, for a court involved, there could be some charges that could prevent a child from coming in. Usually student conduct will already know about that student. So it could be something like a gun charge or maybe a sexual assault. If it's that serious, student conduct will have to clear that student to be on campus. They've been pretty well with clearing certain students allowed on campus. It has to be an egregious act in order for them to prevent someone. So that includes kids from out of county as well. Our student conduct speaks to their student conduct to make sure that child is cleared. So we just have an agreement put in place with them stating that, let's say they receive the charge in their district. If they come to us, they'll lift the expulsion from there or long-term suspension while they're in court. And they have to attend us, follow our rules. As long as they're within the program, they're fine, they're good to go. But if they have to be transitioned out for disciplinary reasons or maybe additional charges, the original ruling from their student conduct and school board goes back into place.
So how does that work? I guess this is my training too, but what if a student has a serious court charge that's not related to the school? Let's say, a felony charge, but it happened outside of school. They're not necessarily involved with student conduct because of it.
Usually, it should not prevent them. Even though it might happen outside of court, the school system knows if a student has a serious charge because they have to inform the school system about that. So student conduct will still have to approve that student, and most likely, if they don't deem them a threat on campus, they'll be approved.
And we have had, at least in terms of Chesterfield student conduct, we've had some who were willing to lift expulsions because the student was coming here. Again, one of those situations you need to make sure they actually do want to come here and not just to have their expulsion lifted. And that it's a gray area, but they've shown that they're really willing to work with us. And no, all of the counties, including Sussex County and Chesterfield, will provide transportation for.
Now, if a parent wants to drive them, we do provide gas card reimbursements.
So those are either $100 to $200 a week, depending on how far away the student is, or if the student can drive themselves.
Good questions.
Mm-hmm.
Any more questions? Oh, okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, yeah,
Go
we'll
ahead.
give,
Oh.
you'll have our information, or I can enter our emails in the chat here. You're welcome to email us if you have questions that come up, or if you'd like that little information sheet or a referral form, I'm happy to email that over to you. So I'll just type that in the chat right now.
Great. People are welcome to stay on if you have additional questions for Justin and Melissa. As you leave the breakout room, you are welcome to hang out in the main room for some wrap up if your time allows that. If you need to move on to other things in your day, that's also fine. We've recorded your participation for your contact hours, and you'll have that credit. So I want to say a big thanks to Justin Savoy and to Melissa Mariner for sharing about the recovery school. Certainly a big news for Virginia, and thanks for forging the way.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Stop recording.